Hey bestie, thanks for joining us today. We thought it was about time to revamp our acrylic application video. This video is going to be great for the beginner who is just getting into the acrylic process. Okay everyone, so I have my model here with me today, and I'm going to start prepping her nails for acrylic application. As you can see, there's some dead tissue around the cuticle area, and we want to make sure that we remove that along with the shine. When pushing back the cuticle, you want to make sure that you are not pushing too hard. You also want to make sure that you are not going at too deep of an angle because you can damage the nail bed, and you don't want to do it too parallel to the nail because you can slip over the top of the skin and possibly cut your client. So now that we have those nicely pushed back, you're going to want to grab a sanding band with a medium to fine grit, and we're going to use this to remove the shine of the natural nail. When doing this, you want to make sure that you are kissing the nail very slightly. You don't want to put any pressure. If you want to get more detailed into removing the dead tissue from the natural nail, you can grab a tapered cuticle cleaning bit, and this is going to help you get into the small channels of the sidewalls and the cuticle area. So now that I'm done with the rest of the fingers, we're going to go ahead and fit the nail tips. When applying the tip, you want to make sure that it's fitted from sidewall to sidewall. You don't want it to be too large hanging over, and you don't want it to be too thin. If the nail tip is too small, it will increase the chances of lifting. Now when applying the tip to the finger, you want to make sure that you are putting it right at the edge where the free edge would start. You want to make sure that you have enough of the natural nail bed so that the acrylic can have something to adhere to and it has a proper foundation. Now that we've applied the tip, it is time to trim to the desired length and shape. Before I use a file on my client, I want to make sure that I properly prep it. When you grab a new file, you will notice that the sides of the file are extremely sharp. The easiest way to remove this is by grabbing another file and running it along the sides. Now that I've prepped the file, the sides are going to be dull and they will not cut my client. The reason why I shape the tip before applying my acrylic is because it eliminates me having to do it at the end of the acrylic application. If you apply the acrylic properly and smoothly, it will keep the shape that you have made. Alright guys, now that we have that on there and shaped the way we want it to, I'm going to go back with my sanding band and we are going to get rid of the sludge here. You want this to blend nicely because this also increases proper retention. Now I'm going to go ahead and repeat these steps on the rest of the nails and I will meet you back here. Okay, so now that we have all these ready, we are going to start with prepping the nail for acrylic application with our dehydrator and our primer. First, you want to apply your dehydrator and you only want to apply it to the natural nail bed. Now that that's dry, you want to go in with your primer and you're also going to apply that to the nail bed. Before applying our color acrylic, I am going to put down a thin layer of our Back to Basics clear powder. When applying this bead, you want to make sure that you're not going all the way to the cuticle area, because when you go into your finish filing and you file around your cuticle, it's going to file away your pigment color and you're going to see the clear underneath. Now the reason why I'm putting a clear layer beneath my color powder is for when my client comes back and she wants to change to a different color, all I have to do is file down to my clear layer and then we can put a new color on. Today I'm going to be using a new color from the Color Blend collection. This color is Iconic. So really quick, I just wanted to show you all the consistency of different beads and what type of bead to look for. So the first bead I want to show you is a wet bead. This is when you have too much monomer in your brush and you pick up too much powder. You can see that it's falling off the brush. You're not going to have any control over this bead. This is also going to give you a very weak structure. Now I'm going to show you guys a dry bead. This is when you don't have enough monomer. You're going to have a very dry bead that's going to be hard to get off the brush, and it's not going to level or flow the way you want it to. To create the perfect bead of acrylic, you want to make sure that you have enough monomer in your brush, but not too much. When you put your brush into your monomer, if you take it out without wiping any off, you're going to see little droplets go down. That's going to give you a bead that is too wet. If you put your brush in your monomer and you take out all your liquid, that's going to give you a bead that is too dry. So if you put your brush in your monomer and you lightly go against the side of it, that's going to give you the perfect amount of monomer to pick up the perfect bead. Once you have your brush out of your monomer, you want to drag along the top of your acrylic, and that's going to be the perfect bead that you're going to work with. The first technique I'm going to show you guys is the 3 bead technique. This is going to be using 3 separate zones to build up the foundation of your nail. Your first zone is going to be here, and this is the free edge of your nail. The second zone is going to be the middle of the nail. This is where the apex and the stress area are. Your third zone is going to be the cuticle area of the nail. Okay, so we're going to pick up our first bead. I'm going to place it in zone 1, and then I'm going to drag it down towards the free edge. This is going to taper the product down so that we have a nice curve at the end of the process. You want to pick up just enough powder so that you can cover the tip of the nail. You want to use the body of your brush to lightly flatten the acrylic bead and then pull it towards the free edge. When you're placing your bead, you also want to make sure that you're using the tip of the brush to feather in the top of the acrylic. This is going to make it easy for when you apply the next bead so that they can flow continuously into each other. So now we're going to do our zone 2. I'm going to place this bead in the middle of the nail, and then we're going to drag it towards the free edge. This bead is going to be slightly bigger than the first bead that we used because we want to make sure that we have enough thickness along the stress area. This is going to be called the apex of the nail. Another tip I like to use when doing an acrylic application is angling my client's nail downward. This is going to help with the flow of the acrylic so that it lays nice and flat. You want to remember to feather the top of the bead into your next working area because you don't want to have a sharp, hard line working against you. Now our last bead is going to be the smallest bead, and it's going to go into the cuticle area, which is zone 3. You want to make sure that you have just enough to cover the nail bed, and then you're going to drag it down into zone 2. With the tip of your brush, you're going to ever so lightly walk the remaining of the bead up into the cuticle area without touching the skin. Alrighty, so we're done applying the acrylic for this nail. If you look from the side, you can tell that it is tapered into the cuticle area. As it goes towards the apex or the stress area, you can see that it's thicker. This is going to give the nail strength so that you don't have any breaks. As you get towards the free edge, you can see that it tapers down again. This is going to give that very nice curved shape. So now that we're done applying our color acrylic, we're going to encapsulate with a layer of clear. This layer doesn't have to be thick, but you want to make sure that you're encapsulating all of the color. So this method is a 2 bead method. Instead of using 3 zones, we're going to be using 2 zones. Our first zone is going to be from the apex down the free edge, and then the cuticle area is going to be our second zone. For this technique, I'm going to be showing you guys another color from the new Color Blend collection. This is called Daydreamer. It's a very beautiful purple color, and it has an iridescent shimmer to it. When applying your first bead to zone 2, you want to make sure that you have a medium to large bead, as you are going to be building up your apex, and you're also going to be covering your free edge. You're going to place the bead down and let it settle. Then you want to keep the majority of the thickness at the apex of the nail. While I'm angling her nail downwards, I'm going to use the body of my brush, and I'm going to drag the bead all the way to the free edge, making sure to taper off at the end. For our next bead, we are going to do the cuticle area. You want just enough product to fill in this area. You don't want to make the nail too bulky. Now that we're done with the acrylic application for our 2 bead method, we are going to also encapsulate this nail in clear. Again, when doing an encapsulation layer, you want to make sure that you are using a very small amount of acrylic. You don't want to add too much bulk to the nail because you want to keep that slim, clean appearance. So now we're going to go ahead and wait for these nails to dry, and I'm going to repeat the process on the rest of the nails. A big thing to remember when doing acrylic application is acrylic is temperature sensitive. If you are in a very warm environment, your acrylic is going to set a lot faster than if you are in a cool environment. After we're done applying all of our acrylic on all the nails, we're going to make sure they're dry. And the best way to do that is by tapping it and listening for the clicking sound. So now I'm going to grab my hand file and I'm going to shape the sidewalls and the free edge. Now because we pre-shaped the nail tip before adding our acrylic, and we also applied a very thin, even acrylic application, our filing is going to be minimal. I'm going to continue filing and shaping these nails with my hand file and my e-drill. If you want an in-depth tutorial on how to do this, we'll link a video in the info bar. After I'm done filing, I always like to grab a lint-free nail wipe and some alcohol and just clean the nails to remove any dust or debris. Now if your client is asking for gel polish or gel art, this would be the time to do it. You want to do it before you put any top coat on, and you want to make sure that the nails have a surface that it can adhere to. Once you're done with your gel art, or if you want to leave your nails like this, we're ready to move on to the next step, top coat. If you're a nail tech that offers multiple nail services, this is the top coat for you. It is a non-wipe top coat, and it's also soakable. This is our best-selling top coat because it is a non-wipe top coat. As soon as the nails are done curing, you're good to go. There's no sticky inhibition layer that you have to wipe off. Today I'm going to be using this top coat because it is my favorite. It was so much fun hanging out with you guys today. I hope you learned a lot in this video. If you guys have any comments, leave them down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.